Ladies and gentlemen, let's play a game. That sounded sinister, it wasn't meant to. So today we are going to be playing a little ultimate luxury brand tier list game. I have come up with 4 categories and 25 of the world's biggest luxury brands, and we're going to go through and categorize them on little groupings that I've come up with myself. I thought that it would be fun, interesting. I've been thinking about doing this for a bit and then I just thought, sod it, let's give it a go. I also just want to talk about the fact that I'm being very blessed by my boss, who is currently asleep on my lap. This is a really special moment, so I just wanted to give it a little bit of time just to acknowledge that. Thank you so much, thank you. So I'm going to talk through the 4 categories that I've come up with. So the first one is ultra luxury. These are brands that control their inventory. It's not that easy to get whatever you want from the brand, okay? They don't do public sales. If they do a sale, it's very invitation only. It's very like once in a blue moon. They do not have outlets. They also don't necessarily do wholesale. And by that, I mean that they don't sell to other multi-brand retailers. That would be something like a Net-a-Porter or, you know, fair enough, they may be in a department store, but it's a shop-in-shop. They control their own sort of stock situation, okay? So that is the ultra luxury. And to tack on top of that, public perception is that they are top tier, okay? They are the creme de la creme. Then we have the super brands. These are household names. They are slightly more accessible than the ultra luxe. They also maybe do a little bit of wholesale. They tend to be slightly more embracing of trends compared to your ultra luxury. The next tier is modern heritage. So these are brands that they do go on sale, they run their own sales, they're on multi-brand retailers, they wholesale, right? So you can find them on a My Teresa, on a Louisa Roma, or on a Net-a-Porter kind of situation. They're in department stores all over the world. Public perception is generally good, but it can sort of like fall in and out of popularity with what's trendy. They're very sort of based on trends. Then we have contemporary, and these are those sort of, the price is much more approachable. Again, very much sort of based on trends. Still deemed to be luxury, but not quite to the same extent as the rest of the brands on this list. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I pack videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably gonna love it. Yes, head on there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. What might be quite interesting with this exercise is that we may categorize them in a place that they may not categorize themselves, okay? So let's have a chat. Let's kick things off with Bottega Veneta. Bottega Veneta is an interesting one because they have very good public perception. Obviously, they fell out of favor for a while, and then as of 2018 onwards, really, they have been one of the biggest brands that are constantly part of the conversation. The pricing is up there, okay? They very much have a specific aesthetic. I wouldn't say that they're too trendy. They have a wide range of product in that there is something there that's a little bit more affordable, especially when you look at like small leather goods and bags. In terms of sales, and I think sales is a very good determinator of where these sorts of brands lie on the ranking, because I think that that can sort of say a lot about how things are performing and whatever. But I don't know, I feel like Bottega is a super brand. I feel like it is very entrenched in that. It's a household name, public perception is very good, the quality is there, it's very luxury. Super brand. Alaïa. Alaïa is a brand that up until 18 months ago, we really weren't talking about that much because it had sort of fallen out of popularity a little bit. It is one of the big trendy brands at the moment. It's available on a lot of online retailers. Okay, let's keep that in mind. It is very high-end luxury, but it does go in sale. It goes in sale in department stores. Maybe not, they're not, you know, shouting about it from the rooftops on their own website, but it does go in sale. Would we say it's a super brand, or would we say it's modern heritage? Because I wouldn't necessarily say that like Alaïa is a household name. I feel like it's a very sort of fashiony name, and I feel like some people may disagree. Oh, but I kind of think it's modern heritage. It can fall in and out of popularity, but it's well respected. I think that it is currently modern heritage, but has the capacity to be super brands. Not all of this is about price. Yes, that counts, and it is up there in terms of price. I'm gonna put it in modern heritage, and I think some people are gonna be pissed off about that. But based on my criteria, I think this makes sense. Do I? Do I think this makes sense? It's not a household name. You know, a liar isn't something that, okay, fair enough, if you watch the Clueless film, that's maybe how a lot of people even know about it. But in general, that's the only thing. That's the only thing that's making put it in modern luxury, because everything else makes it a super brand. Sod it, put it in super brand. Okay, Celine. Celine, I think, is another super brand, but I think Celine controls its stock very well. Now, I don't think it is by any means as popular as it was even like a year ago, 2 years ago. We were really talking about Celine. But I think that they are very good at keeping to themselves, controlling their stock. Where are you seeing Celine on sale? Really only at outlets. Yeah, okay. Celine is another super brand. Louis Vuitton is an interesting one because it has a lot of the elements of ultra luxe, but you automatically want to put it in super brands because of its range of accessibility. The ultra luxe criteria, controlled stock, yes. Louis Vuitton does not do sales. That is just not how it operates in any which way. They don't even do like private sales for top clients. Not that I know of, in which case it's done very secretly and good for them. They do not do outlets. I think the only place I have seen less than retail Louis Vuitton is on 24S, and that's because LVMH own 24S. So that's that, in which case you would say that that's an ultra luxe brand. However, the public perception of the brand is that it's much more accessible than the other brands that are going to come into ultra luxe. So they don't do outlets, they don't do wholesale. If you're buying Louis Vuitton, it's from the store or it's from a shop-in-shop, which makes me want to put it in ultra luxe, but public perception changes everything, right? If we're talking about ultra luxe, you're not going to be surprised about some of the brands that are going to crop up in there. There's not many, right? And you wouldn't necessarily put Louis Vuitton in there, but I think that that's only based on public perception. You can go in, you can get whatever bag you want, really. The sort of elements within that, certain bags are harder to get, a P9 is harder to get, certain capucines are harder to get, but they're not playing the game as much as other brands. Fine. Put it in super brands. Is it a super brand though? Or does she actually, I wish that she could hover between ultra luxe and super brands, to be very honest with you. That's a hard one, no? Okay, fine. Based on the fact that like it is deemed to be more accessible, I'm gonna put it in super brands. Gucci is another one that is that's a straight into super brand. This is not ultra luxe. They do have like small private sales that, you know, shoppers or whatever will get invited to. They are wholesale on a lot of websites. You can go on Net-a-Porter and look at new in Gucci, and they have outlets. They have very big outlets. They have special outlet stock as well. Fine. That is a super brand. It's a household name. It's well recognized. There we go. Fendi. Fendi is a super brand. Yeah, Fendi and Gucci are very similar. Jacquemus. A new name on the blog. Jacquemus, for me, goes straight to contemporary. Why? Price point. And whilst some of the prices are not that different from all of the others, I think that Jacquemus is a very trend-heavy brand. You can basically see what's trending at any stage without having to look at any magazines or any reports on what's trending, purely by what is Jacquemus pumping out, because they're extremely trend-driven. Those more quote-unquote commercial items, the bags and things like that, are a lot more accessible compared to some of the other brands. Jacquemus is a brand that in like 10 to 20 years might make it into modern heritage, really. But generally, I mean, like, I would say it's in there. It's also a brand that you could, you know, be in a really good TK Maxx and see some Jacquemus stuff kind of thing. Yeah, okay. There we go. It can be heavily discounted. The ready-to-wear can be heavily discounted. So, contemporary she is. Dior runs private sales for its clients. Dior public perception is, you know, it's a heritage brand. It's been around for a while. It's one of like the big luxury brands, okay, that everybody knows. It's deemed that way. Do they control their stock? Can you buy Dior online? Not really. Dior is Louis Vuitton sort of level. That kind of like, they're straddling in between ultra luxe and super brands because you have to buy it from Dior, you have to go in store, you have to go to a department store's shop-in-shop, right? So there is that aspect. I'm going to put it in super brands for now. Yeah. Okay, fine. Prada is yet another super brand. Listen, for this one, super brands might be the biggest category in here, right? But listen, some of these, it's contentious, okay? Anyway, Prada is very similar to Dior. Prada and Miu Miu are weird with their online offerings because in certain areas, certain regions of the world, they don't do much, if anything, with online retailers outside of sunglasses. So that's a bit weird and interesting. They have outlets. They do the outlet thing. They have specific outlet pieces. They're definitely, okay, Prada and Miu Miu are both going to be put into super brands. But I'm not going to lie to you. Miu Miu has only made it into super brand in the last 4 years. Before that, I would have put it in Modern Heritage. Modern Heritage is sadly wide open at the moment. Come on, Modern Heritage. The Row. So having a look at our criteria again, the Row. Does the Row go on sale? Yes, it does, but only at multi-brand retailers. Does the Row do wholesale? Yes, it does. The Row is on Essence. The Row is on Net-a-Porter. The Row is on all of those, you know, what's it called, Mode Operandi and all of that, right? It's not a household name. If you are not into fashion, you do not know what the Row is. So there's that. It is a very new brand, and not everything is about how long something's been around, but there is that. I'm going to put it in Modern Heritage. I am. A lot of people in fashion perceive it as a super brand. I don't think it's established enough for that. And I also think that it's enjoying time at the moment because that is also what's really having a moment. Those sort of like minimalist, tried and timeless pieces. And yeah, it will always have its loyalists. But if that trend shifts massively, if all of a sudden we're now interested in maximalism, the Row isn't going to give us that, really, is it? So that's my sort of thought, and that's why I'm thinking Modern Heritage. Next up is Chanel. This is a funny one. Chanel is very good at controlling their stock. They do public sales though. They're going to tell their shoppers about certain sales in store, but if you time it right, if you go to a Chanel store, you'll see like, oh yeah, this rack of shoes is on sale. So contentious on the sale bit. They don't do outlets. They don't do wholesale. You can't even buy their pieces online outside of sunglasses and makeup, okay? I think they've done what they want to do, and that is to put it into Ultra Luxe. I'm going to put it there. Yeah, I think that you can't just walk in and get whatever you want all the time. I tried to go in and ask about a Chanel 25. I was like, oh, can I see it? They were like, no. Because as soon as it's come in, it's spoken for. Just to see, just so I can see? No. All right, my gosh, calm down. So I think it wants to be an Ultra Luxe, and whether or not I like it, it's put itself there. It has. Okay, Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent is a super brand. It's well respected. YSL is a household name, you know. Whether or not you forget about the eve of it all, it's a household name. People know it. They have outlets. They go on sale every now and again. The odd piece. Yeah, a solid super brand. Ferragamo. This is one that's very much based on trend. Like, yes, it's a quote-unquote heritage brand. It's been around for ages, but it really sort of fell out of favour in terms of being very popular and being very talked about. Up until very recently, they go on sale. Their things go on sale, you can wait it out for a bit, depending, you know, piece dependent. I think it's Modern Heritage. Amiri, I'm not going to lie to you, that one really came in at the last second because I had Fendi on here twice and I was like, think of a brand, and I was just about to film this, and for some reason Amiri was the only brand that came into my head. So Amiri it is. Amiri is a very new brand in terms of luxury. It kind of very much started out in that luxury streetwear realm and definitely wants to be taken more seriously within luxury. I mean, it's showing on fashion weeks and all of that. I think it wants to be Modern Heritage based on its pricing, but it is no, because part of contemporary is the pricing. A big part of contemporary is the pricing. I think it's Modern Heritage. Amiri's a very, very fresh new brand. I'm excited to see where it goes because I think it has a lot of potential, but yeah, okay, I think it's Modern Heritage. Hermes. Hermes is case in point of ultra luxury. They are extremely good at controlling their stock to the point that it is, you know, their Birkins and the Kellys, their quota bags are the biggest investment bags in the world, if actually for most of the time the only investment bags really worth talking about. They have got it down. They are the blueprint that a lot of these brands try to emulate, especially even if they can't do it across the brand, but for certain items, so that they can also enjoy some of that, the Hermes level of respect and clout that the brand carries. That brand does not know what trend is. I mean, it makes mini bags or whatever, but generally, you know, across the board as a brand, that is not really following trends. They know what they're doing. Their public perception is top tier. Yeah. The next one is an interesting one to me because it's not a brand that I know about to the same degree as a lot of the rest of these, and that's Loro Piana, but it's a brand that the perception of which is very high. Unlike the other two currently in Ultra Luxe, Loro Piana does have outlets. Does Loro Piana go on sale? I actually have no idea if they go on sale, but I'm assuming because they have an outlet, maybe they have like private sales. Something like that. The pricing is up there with Ultra Luxe. It has a very specific type of customer. It's also not trendy, but I don't think it has enough of the traits of Ultra Luxe to be in there. But I think it could be regarded as such. Goyard. You know, I'm not the biggest Goyard fan, but Goyard conducts itself in an Ultra Luxe way, right? They have X number, a very small number of stores around the world. You can only get their stuff in their stores, or in the very rare times that they are in department stores as a shop-in-shop, right? Like at a Bergdorf, that kind of thing. Once again, even if you get in, there's, you know, not 100% chance that you're going to get exactly what you want. They don't do sales, they don't do outlets, they are very much, we are what we are, and you take it or leave it. And so I think that makes them Ultra Luxe. Is it far past a household name? Not really. More than some of the others. Not in Ultra Luxe, but more of some of the other brands. But I think that it lives there. Is Valentino a super brand? Yes. It's trendy, it has outlets, but it is a household name. I'm gonna put it in super brands. Chloe. Chloe is a brand that, yes, we're really talking about now because it's having its time in the limelight and all of a sudden people are interested in Chloe again. But I think it's more of a modern heritage. I don't necessarily think it's a household name to the same extent as the others. It goes on sale. It has the potential to be a super brand in the next few years, but I don't think it is at the moment. Coach. Coach is contemporary. The price point is very sort of obvious about that. The quality is there, but it's still very, and maybe even more in recent years, a highly respected brand. They put on runways, they do a very good job of elevating themselves to be something that's like, we're more approachable, but we are still giving you the luxuriousness that you would expect of a great bag or whatever sort of thing. They've done a very good at keeping themselves trendy in recent years. Vivienne Westwood is modern heritage. It's still a very small brand compared to the names that we're talking about in the super brands. That is by no, like, Vivienne Westwood could never step up to that as a brand, right? It's got outlets, it does all of that business. As much as it is an ultra luxury brand in my heart, I know that that is not the case. And yeah, definitely modern heritage. Loewe. I think Loewe is a super brand. 5 years ago, it may not have been deemed so. Would I have said that? Yeah. Loewe was always good, but recently it's been great. I would say in the last 8 years, Loewe has been great. Maybe before that it would have been modern heritage, really. It's also much more of a household name than it was. I think loads of people were like, what is this sort of weirdly named brand, whatever. And now, you know, most people who are buying a luxury item know that it's Loewe and not what I used to call it, which was low. So there you go. I think that says something. That's definitely a super brand. They've got their little outlets. They do their thing. Some of their pieces go on sale. Cool. Burberry. Oh, Burberry. Burberry's modern heritage. Is it? Is it modern heritage? Burberry's been all over the place. I feel like Burberry was trying to act as a super brand, but it is modern heritage. Yeah, I think in terms of price, maybe it's still acting as a super brand and we need to, you know, come on, sort yourself out. And they've now sort of focused on this core collection, which are those like Burberry classics, the check in different sort of versions and iterations, and easy wardrobe staples that I think is very important. And of course you've got the backbone of the Burberry trench and gabardine and outerwear and that very sort of like weathering the British storm of it all. So I think that it's finding its footing. I think it's doing a very good job recently, but I think it is very much modern heritage. And then we have Versace. Versace was a weird one to me because I feel like Versace is modern heritage. Yeah, I'm going to put Versace as modern heritage. As of today, actually, the news has been announced that Prada is buying Versace. You never know. In a few years' time, that might be sort of super brand level. I think at the moment, it is still very much modern heritage. It's a household name. Culturally, Versace might be a bigger brand than a lot of these in modern heritage, right? But I think in terms of the way it's kind of like structured and the way it acts, 90% of Versace clothes go on sale, except for like a handful of things that all of a sudden sell out and you're like, why didn't I just take a risk on that one? The bags aren't great. They need to bulk up their bag selection. Prices can be on the much more affordable end of luxury when it comes to those leather goods and sort of fashion accessories and things like that. So I think that, yeah, I think they're in modern heritage. There we go. Did you staunchly disagree with any of my placements? Are there any brands that I've like completely missed that you're like, how did you add a Miri and you forgot about this one? Let me know, because listen, sometimes the brain isn't working the way it should. But I hope that I made myself clear. I think that the way that I categorise things was good and makes sense, but let me know your thoughts. I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are, and in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.